Well, today I've got a very special guest on my fledgling Moffcast podcasting. It's Alix Popham, and he is a former Welsh international rugby player. He's also a business entrepreneur, and he's also the founder of Head for Change, and he started Progressive Rugby. So he was an excellent rugby player for Wales, but he hasn't let the grass grow under his feet since he's stopped playing. And welcome, Alix, and it's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, not a problem. This is all about the movers and shakers in the rugby world, and I put you fairly and squarely in that space. Just a little bit, how do you look back on your rugby career with Wales?
Yeah, in Wales, most probably very similar to New Zealand. It's every boy's dream to represent Wales, and to be able to do that on 33 occasions, go to 2 World Cups and win a Grand Slam. Yeah, I was thrilled to be able to achieve that. Have a grog made of me. You know what grogs are.
Yeah.
I collected them as a youngster, and I've got all my favourite players. So when they asked me that they were gonna do a grog with me, it was an amazing accomplishment, really. I thought I should have had more caps, but every player thinks that, and if you don't think that, then you had to have that desire to think not you were the best, but you were playing well, and you wanted to push the competition, and should have been selected sometimes more.
Yeah, these selectors can be a bit irritating. I was a referee, in the top grades in Australia, but I never got selected to referee an international. It was most likely a good thing, actually. But yes, I mean, your future's in the hands of others when you pull on your boots, and and it's all power to your arm that you played 33 test matches.
Yeah, and I just think I wasn't the most skillful of players, but I was committed, and everything that I did when I was training, playing, was always 100%. And some seasons where I was playing my best rugby was most probably 2005, 2006 to 2000, or when I retired, 2011. And the last 3 years when I was playing in France, I didn't have any more games after I left.
So 2005 Grand Slam winning team.
Yeah, I wasn't part of that. It was I got my first cap in I think in 2003, but was off with an injury during the Grand Slam. But the Grand Slam I was involved was 2008.
Well, excellent stuff. Yeah. So we were just talking off air that you were coached by Phil Davis, who's now the director of rugby at World Rugby.
Yeah, Phil took me from Newport, my hometown, up to Leeds, and I had four great seasons up in Leeds. Got my first cap from Leeds. And then I moved back to Wales with the Scarlets, and Phil followed me and coached me at the Scarlets. But Phil's a good friend, and it's a great appointment for World Rugby and for current players and retired players, I believe.
Yeah, so do I. So and then you moved on from rugby, and as I said at the beginning, you haven't let the grass grow under your feet. I categorized you as a business entrepreneur, and I know one thing that you're involved in is a company called Hub 15. Can you tell me and our listeners and viewers a little about that?
Yeah, so Hub 15 was an idea to help out. The idea came about for helping out London Welsh in London. They went into administration, moved from Oxford, the ground that they were using in the Premiership, back to Old Deer Park, and they needed revenue ASAP, and they lost all their sponsors and things like that. So they wanted us to put some dinners on and things like that. But we went down there, and where it's situated, 20 minutes into the city, lots of chimney pots around the ground. We said, why not turn it into a co-working space where your members, if they work from home, could come and use it a couple of days a week. And that's where the idea came from. And then I started to do some research, and there's some unbelievable stadiums around the UK and around the world that are sat empty 87% of the time. So yeah, we launched in Cardiff in Sophia Gardens, the cricket ground, Ascot, and we're also in Twickenham. But COVID got in the way. We're still here, and we're waiting for that to explode.
So that's what's interesting is the last one that you've named, which is Twickenham, obviously a great venue, and I think a terrific place for your Hub 15 concept. I suppose the thing that surprises me is that one of the world's great stadiums, which is right in the middle of the city, and you know which one I'm talking about. I'm talking about what's it called now? Is it the Principality? Yeah, the Principality. The Principality Stadium. You haven't been able to get in there. Now I can tell you 100%, mate, if I was still running Welsh Rugby, that would have been your first stadium.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing stadium, and would love to be in there. One thing that we do offer to the members, and the Principality couldn't offer, is car parking for the membership, because of the lack of car parking space. But plenty of people can park in other car parks and get the train in. So yeah, it would be a great venue in the future. Yes.
Well, hopefully you can get the guys that are currently running the joint to see the benefit of doing a deal with you.
Yeah.
And then of course, you've been very high profile in recent times, and I'm not going to ask you about the legal case that is on foot with World Rugby, but you've become a little bit concerned about the head injuries in rugby, and so then you formed I think it was Head for Change, and also you were one of the co-founders of that, and then also you started Progressive Rugby. Can you just tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, well, the reason we set up Head for Change to start with was after my diagnosis, which was April 2020, after having probably 6 to 9 months of testing myself to get my diagnosis, we soon realized there was nothing out there to support. I was 40 at the time, a 40-year-old with dementia and a diagnosis of probable CTE, of what to do. Everything that we Googled online was for 65, 70-year-olds who had grandchildren. I've got 3 young daughters, and how do you tell them? So we soon realized that we needed to do something quickly, because the number of ex-players who were struggling was growing, and we needed to put something in place to support them, but also learn as we were going along ourselves with different things to help support us as a family, but also the now hundreds of ex-players who are in a similar situation. So we teamed up with football, an amazing woman who coached us, Dr. Judith Gates, whose husband Bill Gates has dementia and probable CTE from his days playing for Middlesbrough, and now Sally Tucker, whose father has dementia and probable CTE from playing professional football. And there's 3 key areas with Head for Change, and that's support for family and ex-players, simple things from diet, exercise, coffee mornings, just talking to people about different things that are going on. And then education, and this is a huge point because I didn't even know a lot about concussion whilst I was playing. I all thought a concussion was where you were knocked out cold. 90% of my concussions were, 90% of concussions are where you're not knocked out. So when I was seeing stars, when I was hitting a bag or tackling in training or games, they are actual concussions. You don't need to be knocked out. So we want to educate people from as soon as they start playing, and that's people around them as well as their coaches, their school teachers, the parents, to understand a concussion is serious. And then the third part of Head for Change is research, and that's independent research that says 100% of the findings out to the public of what was found. And with all those things, I think we've made a big difference in the year that we've been going, and we've helped a lot of people, which is what it's all about for me.
Yeah, I guess I suffered in my playing career a couple of head injuries, but mind you, I was a fullback, so I didn't go anywhere near a lot of that stuff, you know, where you like it was they were both caused when I tackled somebody obviously very badly.
Yeah.
And on one occasion I actually didn't wake up until I was in the hospital.
No.
So you know, so a lot of people will listen to that and think, oh well, there we go, that's the reason why Moffat's a bit of an idiot, you know. So, you know, but
it's not just, as I said, it's not just the KO concussions or traumatic brain injury. I think the word concussion softens actually what it is.
Yeah,
it's a traumatic brain injury, and that's what people need to call it, because if as I said, concussion sounds quite soft and it's not that important. But a traumatic brain injury, people stand up and start listening, because the brain is the person, and we need to look after it, because we only get one of them.
Exactly, that's right. And you know, and the head is always supposed to have been sacrosanct, but it's more so these days. I will put a little bit of a crawler across the bottom of the screen when I edit this, to get people to have a look at something that we've been developing for the last couple of years, which is called 11's Rugby, and it's built on it's simpler, it's safer, it's fun, and you know, people can go to the website. And then of course, progressive rugby. How did that come about?
Well, I love rugby. Rugby has been my life since the age of 4. When I started playing at 4, contact was allowed, so I went straight into rugby with contact. It brings so many amazing people from around the world. I've got friends all around the world. The reason why we're talking, and you're over in the Southern Hemisphere now. Are you in Australia or New Zealand?
New Zealand, no, just north of Christchurch, yeah.
In New Zealand, is because of rugby and the values that it brings, the discipline that you learn as a child growing up to respect the referee. There are amazing things, and that rugby brings to everybody's life who watches it or plays it. And this is where I got every stakeholder in the game, from medics, referees, media, ex-players, current players, heads of sport, together, who all love rugby but just want to make it safer. And there's lots of things that we put a list of 15 commandments to World Rugby that we would like to see changed tomorrow, and would have a huge difference to the game in making it much safer.
Well, I think anything that can retain the authenticity of rugby, whilst at the same time making it safer, simpler to understand, and perhaps a little bit more expansive than, you know, what we see at the moment. And especially when you think about the way that the Welsh used to play the game, right? You know, I mean, I grew up loving the way Wales played, you know, and okay, I'm looking back with rose-colored glasses, but there's not a single person that wouldn't look at footage of those 70s, especially in the 80s, of the way Wales played. What I'd like to see in rugby is I'd like to see, I call rugby at the moment McDonald's Rugby, because McDonald's, you go to McDonald's, doesn't matter where you go in the world, it all tastes the same. Same look, everything. The same as rugby at the moment. Everybody is trying to play exactly the same way. And it's become somewhat boring. What I'd like to see the Welsh play the Welsh way. The French are getting back a little bit to be playing the French way. Australia and their running rugby. The All Blacks are doing pretty much what they've always done. The Box, they play 10-man rugby, and that's fine. England, who the hell knows what sort of style of rugby they want to play.
They don't.
They don't. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, all those differences that we used to love, and
but it's become a game of chess, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Rugby is now just a lot of ping pong kicking, going back and forth until somebody makes a mistake, and then they look to capitalize on it. But as to watching it, it's nowhere near as entertaining as it used to be.
Well, I got into trouble once for calling rugby league 5-tackle kick, you know, which is with the rugby league people in Australia before I went to run the NRL. But, you know, I now call rugby bash and kick, because, you know, that's what it seems to me to be. So you get a brilliant try scored the other day by the Italian fullback. And Campo's all over the media saying how great it was and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I mean, rugby evolves, right? It evolves, and my wish is that it sort of goes a little bit back to the future. But anyway, that's just me, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to reading it when you send it over.
So you're a family man now, 3 daughters?
Yeah, I've got 3. I've got Holly, who's 17, started driving, passed her driving test a few months back. Isabel, who's 14, and Darcy, who's 3, turning 4 in July. So 3 girls. I don't know what I did in a past life to have 3 girls, but now they're good as gold, and got a close relationship with all 3 of them.
Excellent stuff, mate. Well, you're sort of 3/5 on the way to a netball team, so but I guess you're gonna stop at 3. I'm
tapped out now. I'm happy with 3. Life's a bit easier. Darcy's into a good routine, and life is a lot calmer now that's in place.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and we should stay in touch and see how everything pans out.
Definitely. Can I say, just for people, if they can go to headforchange.org.uk, sign up to the newsletter, see what we're all about. It's an amazing charity. There's one person on the payroll, and she works a few hours a week for admin. Every penny that is raised for Head for Change goes into supporting ex-players and their families and making a big difference. And our strapline is be part of the solution, and would love you and your followers to get involved.
Yeah, well, I did get involved early on in the piece, but I'm way down here the other side of the world, so it's a little bit difficult. So the great thing is that you're out there doing something about it. And you know, I wish you all the very best. And this has been David Moffat talking to Alix Popham on the Moffcast. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please, what's the word? I think you have to click on something to join up. Subscribe is the word I'm looking for, mate. Subscribe's the word I'm looking for. And
we
because
both got there in the end.
Yeah, we both did, mate. And because, you know, Alix is just one of the rugby movers and shakers I'll be talking to, and you can visit my YouTube site, and you can have a look at all these great people. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
and good luck to you, Alix.